order the May 8th regular business meeting of Waynesboro City Council. Welcome, everyone, and the Rise Scholars, welcome. For those in attendance this evening, if you wish to speak during the citizen comment period, please sign up on the sheet in the back of chambers. Mr. Allen, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Item 2 is, let's see here. Item 2 is adoption of the meeting agenda. Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll make that motion. Okay,
I think that's item 3. Okay, we got a little off here. So item 3 is adoption of the meeting agenda. Is there a motion to adopt? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor of the adopting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes 5-0. Okay. Item 4 is matters from mayor. My little things are off. Okay, I'd like to thank our Department of Public Works for their work in organizing the annual spring cleanup. The Stormwater Program hosted an event this year on April 22nd, Earth Day 2023. Through the event, though the event was shortened by rain, employees and volunteers collected nearly 36 bags of trash along 4 different roadways. Special thanks to the organizational volunteers, Public Works Department, and community members who participated in the event. Item 5 is matters from council. Does anybody have anything?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Earlier this week, myself and the mayor got to go to the ribbon cutting ceremony up at Gray Pine Lodge. If you guys haven't seen that, if you're coming down the mountain and see all the renovations and what they've done to the Gray Pine Lodge, you need to stop by there and check it out. They've done a great job. There were representatives there from Nelson County, Augusta County, and of course here in Waynesboro, our economic development, Greg Hitchens was there as well. It was a good turnout. They've done incredible work with it, and it's just another, to me, another feather in the cap for Waynesboro. It's a nice location. It's a nice invitation into the city.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, we had a Rosenwald Community Center block party on Saturday. Nice turnout, and it was a good event. So
very good. Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a reflection on our Riverfest event weekend prior, and just a congratulations, and I think with the largest attendance and record in recent memory. So it was we were down there, and boy, it was quite the show. So just congratulations to the organizers.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, moving on, and that brings us to item 6, and that's the consideration of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Short. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that motion passes 5-0. Item 7 is to issue a proclamation naming May 15th through the 21st, 2023 as National Police Week and May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in the city of Waynesboro. Mr. Lee, would you please read that proclamation?
yes, ma'am. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week, and whereas the members of law enforcement for the city of Waynesboro play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Waynesboro, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement officers, and whereas members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the citizens by safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the police department for the city of Waynesboro has grown to be a modern law enforcement agency that unceasingly provides a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Lana Williams, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council of Waynesboro, call upon all citizens and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 14th through 20, 2023 as Police Week, with appropriate acknowledgement, in which all of our citizens may honor law enforcement officers, past and present, and who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to the communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an inviolable, enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of citizens. I further call upon all citizens of Waynesboro to observe Monday, May 15, 2023, as Peace Officers Memorial Day, to honor those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives and have become disabled in the performance of duty. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city, Waynesboro, Virginia, to be affixed this 8th day of May, 2023. Lana Williams, Mayor, City of Waynesboro.
First, I'd like to invite David Shaw, our chief, forward to receive the proclamation and make any remarks.
I'll keep my remarks brief, but first, good evening to everyone and everyone behind me. I appreciate this. One of the great things about this week, the police department, we always take the time to recognize the employees and the industry in general, but one of the great things about Waynesboro and our community is it's not just dedicated to 1 week a year. This community is really good about supporting the police department and also having those and fostering positive working relationships within the community. And for that, I just want to say on behalf of the department, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Item 8 is to issue a proclamation recognizing the RISE organization on their 5th anniversary. This proclamation holds a special place in my heart. I have had the privilege to volunteer in the after-school program at RISE. It never gets old when you see a child's face light up when they solve a problem or answer a question correctly, and the whole class applauds. The way everyone lifts each other up and supports the other is wonderful. I don't know how Shannon and Sharon balance all that they do, but it is abundantly clear that children are thriving with RISE on their side. It has been an honor for me to be a part. This proclamation in recognition of RISE organization's 5-year anniversary. Whereas RISE organization was officially established in 2018 in the city of Waynesboro, Virginia by founders Sharon Fitz and Shannon McGuffin. And whereas the mission of RISE is to give voice to the voiceless, strength to the weak, and support for those within the Black community. And whereas for the past 5 years, RISE has provided after-school and summer programming, a Black History program, an all-Black library featuring almost 2,000 works by Black authors, tutoring services, and an advocacy program for Black scholars and their families in Virginia. Cornerstones of RISE organization is an annual Women's Summit that brings women from all across the country to the Shenandoah Valley for its networking motivation, its yearly community stakeholders conference that dives into bringing all walks of life, positions, and leaders to the table to create the community in which we all wish to see. Courageous conversations happen during the conference, and whereas RISE has been recognized on the House floor in Richmond for the work it does with scholars in the Shenandoah Valley, Crozet, and Charlottesville. And whereas RISE associates have participated in 2 city rallies, spoken at City Council citizen comment periods against hate in the city, which led to then Mayor Terry Short Jr. and the council presenting a proclamation against hate in the city, and then Vice Mayor Lana Williams and the City Council declaring Juneteenth as a city holiday and encouraging Waynesboro citizen, Mr. Kenny Lee, who is now City Council member Kenny Lee, to run for office. And whereas the City Council of Waynesboro, Virginia appointed co-founder Shannon McGuffin to the Waynesboro Economic Development Board and the Historic Commission. Now, therefore, I, Lana Williams, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Waynesboro, Virginia, do hereby recognize Sharon Fitz and Shannon McGuffin and the RISE organization on their 5th anniversary and extends sincere gratitude to its officers and members, past and present, for their accomplishments, commitment, and dedication to the Waynesboro community as a model of advancement, fortitude, and caring. In witness whereof, I hereto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Waynesboro to be affixed this 8th day of May, 2023. I would like to invite... Please come forward.
Thank you. Y'all need to get to the book with the
Now, would you like to say a few words? I know you do.
I'll speak out. Well, good evening. We are blessed to be here, and so many of our children, some have fallen asleep. That happens to us too in session, so, but it's all right. I want to let the children of Rise and the scholars see Miss Lena, because you all don't see her like that. So I'm so glad you're able to see her, and I'm so glad that you're able to see Councilman Lee, because you all were his first challenge on the campaign trail with the first question. So that was exciting for them to see this to fruition. Thank you to the city of Waynesboro. We are glad to be here. We stir up good trouble. And I know you all know us by first name basis, and we've got a lot of work to do. And we've seen a lot of progress happen in 5 years. It's amazing. People thought we wouldn't last 5 months, but we're still here. And we continue to grow and build and want to represent the community, but we want to work with the whole community, because what you see is that this is family right here. All of them are family. And so they know when they cross the Rise door, they walk into family. And so these are our children, these are our parents, our sisters, our brothers, and so we're super excited that they were able to come. It's only a portion of them here, but we are glad for those that were able to get out tonight.
Well, take a few seconds to say thank you. It's wonderful to know where we started and to hear all the things that you've listed and the impact that we've been able to make. It's affirmation and confirmation that we did the right thing when we decided to jump and start Rise. So I'm looking forward to the continuing work that we're doing and the impact that we're making, and being back again for something great at another time. Thank you.
And I'm going to give you a moment to, you're more than welcome to stay for the meeting. It's quite exciting, but I was going to give you an opportunity to leave if you would like to do so. That was good. Look. Yep. Yeah. Bye, Mila. And give them a chance to close that door. I need someone to go shut the door. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, there you go. He's got it. Good deal. There we go. Got it. Okay. Okay. We are on item 9, and that is to consider introducing an ordinance imposing taxes for the calendar year 2023. Mr. Ham?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Williams and members of council, I'm going to provide a very brief PowerPoint presentation that summarizes very succinctly our work from the point of city manager's recommended budget to where we are this evening, anticipating that council will introduce the ordinances, 3 ordinances that are associated with the adoption of the operating budget for fiscal '24. So, again, beginning with the city manager's recommended budget, the process through work session is to arrive at a budget that the council feels comfortable with and confident with in terms of meeting its expectations and goals. And one of the chief changes between the city manager's recommended budget and the council's budget that we anticipate introducing this evening is a reduction in the real estate tax rate from 79 cents to 77 cents. And so the series of 3 ordinances this evening involve first setting the various tax rates, that's item 9. Then we have an ordinance that sets the rates for the enterprise funds, that's item 10. And then finally, item 11 is an appropriation ordinance that appropriates the revenues and expenditures in the form of a budget. So personal property tax is worth mentioning again. That rate increases upon recommendation of the city manager to $3.25. Again, we're anticipating coincidentally an equivalent increase or restoration of personal property rates. Or I guess last year they increased, we reduced the rate. This year we're expecting those assessments to go down, and therefore we're adjusting the rate with a goal of realizing equivalent revenue. And then, as we did last year, we'll monitor those assessments or the assessment process through the commissioner's office, and if it's necessary to make an adjustment to the rate, we'll be back to you in probably late August or early September. The general fund budget is $61 million or $61.5 million. That's item 11, the budget ordinance. And then the total change from the recommended, or excuse me, from this year's budget to next year's budget is $4.3 million. More specifically, you can see on the revenue side, there was a 2-cent reduction in the recommended real estate rate, again from 79 to 77. That produced a $520,000 reduction in revenue. During the time period of the various work sessions, Mr. McCormick revisited all of the revenue forecasts, and we determined that there was some confidence in increasing the lodging tax. So those revenues are forecasted at about $100,000 more than what we presented in the original recommended budget. And then the total change from manager's recommended to council's, where we are this evening, was $421,000. In order to balance on the expenditure side, we had to make obviously a number of changes. The first being we reduced the compensation adjustment that was originally planned for enactment around August or September. That was adjusted to enactment in December. That saved $376,000 roughly. We had fully funded an economic development incentive at $130,000. That's an estimate. In practice, what actually happens is because that's a reimbursement incentive, we can fulfill that obligation with current year revenues. So as the incentive recipient realizes those revenues and pays those taxes, we'll just use those revenues to issue or fulfill our obligation in the form of an incentive. And we were able to reduce the budget by $130,000 on the expenditure side. We had originally forecasted $100,000 to begin work on the renewal process for our comprehensive plan. We reduced that, again, in an effort to balance, and so we have some money available to start that process. As we work through how we do that and the expense of doing that, if it's necessary to come back to council, we'll talk to you about where we are. But that was one adjustment that was made in order to balance. In terms of adjustment in a positive nature on the expenditure side, we were able to restore 2 of the 4 frozen police positions, and I would note that that was one of council's identified priorities. So you can see total expenditure reductions of 421 to match the revenue reductions of 421. So that's how we're balanced in the general fund. Mr. McCormick is going to talk a little bit about enterprise funds.
So item 10 on your agenda this evening is to adopt your utility fund rates. We began work on this at the March 8th, 2023 City Council work session, and there haven't been any major changes, but just as a reminder and succinct place to put all of these, the proposed increase in the water rates is 9%. The actual dollar value on those rates are included in your briefing and in the ordinance. There's a 3% proposed increase in sewer. Proposed to increase the stormwater utility fee from $4.70 to $4.84, which is about 3%, and then $2.50 per month per cart. Proposed increase in monthly refuse collection rates. The main ones there, they're just a quick summary on those. The 9% proposed increase, all of the funds are experiencing some pressures from inflation, but it's most acutely felt in sewer, or I'm sorry, in water on the labor side, which is your compensation and benefits, and then also on things like meters and projects are all getting more expensive. Held mostly tight on the stormwater utility fee because you're going into a new program next year, a new 5-year program. So we would recommend holding at the 3%, see what the program entails, see what the requirements are, and come back next year with a more refined expectation there. And then $2.50 per month per cart in the refuse collection is $1.50 to fund the projects at the landfill. They're opening phase 5 at the landfill, as well as some rolling stock replacement there and some movement on the scale houses. And then there's $1 in that fund as well to fund previous compensation increases and this year's compensation increases. So kind of where we are in the process. So at the April 24th, 2023 meeting, City Council held all of the necessary public hearings on the budget, the rates, and the fees. This evening, there's potential to introduce the ordinance. It's your next meeting, potential to adopt the ordinance. Just as a reminder, the CIP process is kind of split up into 2 different pieces. There's the recurring revenue items like your grants and your transfers from the general fund that are in your current budget. And then there's also a transfer of fund balance from the general fund to the CIP that we'll bring presentation on at the next meeting, and then potential ordinance at the following meeting for adoption at the final meeting in June. We split that up that way so that those funds can be transferred prior to the end of the year. It makes your CAFR easier to read when you get it in the fall and gives you a more accurate representation of where all your dollars are when you receive your CAFR if you go ahead and move those monies over to your CIP fund from your general fund before the end of the year. Then you also have a potential fund balance appropriation in July of your small capital items, maintenance, cars, technology, things like that, that we would bring back and recommend in July. The reason that we hold those items is because it gives the departments the entire year to purchase them versus if we appropriate them now or were to recommend appropriation now, that appropriation would lapse and they'd have to try to get those purchased before the end of the year, which isn't really feasible. So we recommend holding that until July and addressing that then.
So unless there are questions, I think this provides adequate overview, and council can proceed, if it's your wish, with the introduction, second, and discussion on each ordinance. And then if you have questions at the time, certainly we'll answer those, but otherwise you can work through those, and then you'll receive, or those ordinances will receive final consideration on May 22nd.
Does anyone have any questions before we proceed? Okay. Is there a motion to introduce the ordinance establishing taxes for the calendar year 2023, real estate tax rate at 77 cents per hundred and personal property rate at $3.25 per hundred?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor Wood. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? Okay, this ordinance will receive final consideration at the May 22nd meeting. Item 10 is to introduce an ordinance establishing utility rates and amending City Code Sections 30-58H3A and B, 66-3C, 86-28A, and 86-139A. Is there a motion to introduce the ordinance establishing a utility service rates for the calendar year 2023?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? Okay, this ordinance will also receive final consideration at the May 22nd meeting. Item 11 is to consider introducing an ordinance for the annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Is there a motion to introduce the annual appropriation ordinance, the budget for the fiscal year 2024?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. And this ordinance will also receive final consideration at the May 22nd meeting. Item 12 is to receive a report from the Director of Economic Development and Tourism on the status of the Tourism Information Center. Mr. Hitchin.
So I think Mr. Hamp has some introductory remarks before Greg starts his presentation. This evening, Mr. Hitchin will provide a formal update to council regarding the status of the Tourist Information Center located at Rockfish Gap and operated solely by the City of Waynesboro. Greg will share information about the experiences at the current TIC location, which lead us to the recommendation that we do not reopen at the current location. Additionally, Mr. Hitchin will highlight the benefits of operating a certified tourist information center, which lead us to the recommendation that the council consider a new location for a TIC within the city on the East Main Street corridor. As introductory remarks, I'm informing council that for a variety of reasons, I do not believe that the location effectively promotes visitation to the city, nor does it enhance our brand as a community. The general area is neglected, and the remoteness of the location raises concerns for safety for our volunteers and guests. While we do not seek guidance on possible next steps this evening, I would ask that council confirm, if you are able to, your agreement with the plan not to reopen at the current location this evening. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank publicly the staff and the volunteers who through years have delivered dedicated service above and beyond the call and through some trying circumstances to serve and promote Waynesboro as a visitation destination. For years, they have remained committed to promoting visitation and remaining at the strategic location at the intersections of I-64, Route 250, the Blue Ridge Parkway, and the Skyline Drive. However, in spite of the prime location, the current conditions and circumstances do not elevate our brand as a community or attract visitors. And just to reiterate, upon the conclusion of Mr. Hitchin's presentation, we won't seek guidance on direction or next steps, but again, if you're able to simply give a head nod that you're comfortable with the plan not to reopen at this time, I would appreciate that. But we would return to you in a subsequent meeting and seek specific guidance either to formally terminate the existing lease or authorization to negotiate a lease for a new location. Mr. Hitchin. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. Thank you for an opportunity to come before you tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about, as Mr. Hamp mentioned, certified tourist information centers. What are they? Why are they useful? Our situation that Mr. Hamp has already alluded to, an idea for the immediate future, and a thought for the distant future. And if you allow me, I may start with the latter and then move through the other four. We firmly believe that the right environment at the right time, the concept of a regional information center at the top of Afton Mountain makes a lot of sense. Augusta County is diligently working to make the top of Afton Mountain a better place, but there's a lot to do. And we believe that the realization of that dream, of that concept, is a decade, if not decades, away from realization. So it brings us tonight as to what do we do in the meantime. So a certified information center, it's a state program. We are certified. Our records go back as far as 2002. Their records only go back that far. We've been certified since the beginning of their program. It has a number of benefits, and with those benefits come requirements. Benefits include an interstate sign. So if you're along 64, you've seen an interstate sign at exit 99. We're allowed to distribute our materials at Virginia Welcome Centers. We get listings in the VTC, Virginia Tourism Corporation publications, online, participate in their trainings and their manuals, and have opportunities for grants. Requirements: proximity to an interstate, need to be open at least 5 days a week, including Saturday and Sunday, and have a plan to be open 365 days of the year. Need adequate parking, restroom facilities, needs to be operated or owned by a public entity, and the location needs to be convenient and accessible for the public, and we must distribute information for not only our own area, but for the region and for the state. We sent you some examples of some new information centers in the material ahead of time, but information centers around the state continue to expand. New centers are larger. They have exhibits. They have display panels to talk about the area. Some sell artisan goods, some sell merchandise, but they all have one thing in common, is they have a personal experience to tell a story about that particular area. Now, we recognize that this gizmo has a lot of power and a lot of information in it. And we've all searched for a new restaurant, a new adventure, a new place to go, and we found it online. But most of us, if not all of us, when we get to that new restaurant or that new adventure or the new place to go, seek out someone to ask them their recommendations. What's the best thing on this menu for us to eat? What should I see first? What should I see if I only have a certain amount of time? We crave that personal experience, and our phones or our online experience might get us there, but to get us over the hurdle, we always ask for that personal experience. Surveys back up that information. Face-to-face interaction combined with an easily readable map or brochure contribute to a visitor's success and experience in that neighborhood, in that area. High percentage of visitors, when they look at something printed, influence their decision while they're in market. Not out of market planning it. Once they're in market, they pick up something, they talk to someone, and it determines what they're going to do while they're there. So a destination visitor center creates a first impression and allows and helps people stay longer and spend more money. Now, I won't belabor the point of our current situation. Mr. Hamp explained it very well. The current situation makes it unreasonable for us to continue to do work in that location. Which brings us to tonight. So we close for the season November 13th, which brings us to tonight of making a decision, or thinking about making a decision at a future meeting. Do we permanently close our Tourist Information Center, or do we look for a new location and move to that location? A couple of points to consider as we think about that. If we permanently close, we're going to miss an opportunity to see visitors and to guide them into spending more time and more money in our city. We're going to lose that personal interaction. We will lose our connection and our certification with Virginia Tourism Corporation. We will see a slight net benefit to our budget that you just proposed passing, and the interstate signs will get removed, and I'm told we'll get a bill for that. The positive things, if we move to a new location, we'll maintain those relationships with the state. We'll be able to create a positive first impression within the city limits, have a direct impact on local spending from those visitors and tourists, and our dream, our thought is to create a destination experience. So the visitor center itself will become a destination for the material inside it, not just the bathroom that's inside it. So our staff recommendation is to relocate to East Main Street and create a destination experience center. Some of you may remember in late 2019 and early 2020, we had a consultant come and do a study on East Main Street. We were fortunate enough to win consultant services for this project, so it didn't cost us any money, but they came and evaluated that whole area for us. They made a number of very specific suggestions. which we presented to council in late 2019. One of them is to make Highway 250 the tourism gateway for Waynesboro. And their specific quote out of that was, relocate the visitor center to East Main Street near the entrance to the city. Now, 250 East Main Street is an entrance corridor to the city from, as Mr. Hamp mentioned, the only place on the planet where the Shenandoah National Park, Blue Ridge Parkway, and Appalachian Trail meet. 80,000 cars go through the Rockfish Gap Entrance Center into Shenandoah National Park. 16 million people travel the Blue Ridge Parkway every year. We need to make part of those people come downtown, have a reason to come downtown. The second part of her recommendation was to continue to make investments along East Main Street, to make it a better corridor to get people more down into the city, excuse me. Second point, establishing thriving businesses along the corridor. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the businesses in a couple of slides, but East Main Street is included in our enterprise zone subzone, so it gets particular benefits, and we've also included in our tourism zone, which allows certain benefits. And lastly, one of the main recommendations was to brand the corridor to draw people and business to the area. We took advantage of 2020 and 2021 to talk to the businesses that are in that area, along with a marketing consultant, and we branded the East Main Street corridor Rockfish Gateway. Now, we're ready to roll that out as soon as we have a right reason to roll that out, to help create a name for that area, create an identity for that area, and drive people there, but also to help to attract businesses there. The businesses along there, Rockfish Gatfitters has been there for a while. Basic City Beer was the first to move into the Metal Crafters building and is continuing to grow and expand. Commonwealth Crush opened last fall. They're opening their tasting room this spring. Blue Ridge Bucha is continuing to grow. If you drove by Metal Crafters building at all last year, you noticed all kinds of construction. They completed the biggest part of the historic preservation of that building last year. The former Ed's Grill has new owners, is going through a refresh. If you drive along Main Street, you can see that now. Mr. Wood mentioned the Great Pine Lodge. Even though it's in Augusta County, it's on our corridor. It's the first thing you see as you head down the mountain, so we're going to claim it. And also the Smart Scale project. So this is not a Smart Scale project, but a presentation, but from East Avenue to the county line, beginning in 2026, will be a variety of improvements to make that road easier to travel and make it safer. So it'll be different medians, different landscaping. Part of it will have a multi-use path, et cetera. So we're making that investment in that corridor already by making the road safer. So we envision a new Waynesboro Tourist Information Center to be on East Main Street, which is in the city limits, to be slightly larger than it currently is. And just the fact that we're there will be a catalyst for continued growth and continued business to move that area, and create a destination experience center for visitors to come and experience what we have to offer on 4 main points: the outdoor recreation, the history of our community, starting with the building along East Main Street, hiking opportunities, the leisure piece of that, opportunity to create family memories by having different things within the visitor center, of course our traditional maps and brochures, but all centered by having a person there to share their personal experiences on how and what to see within the city of Waynesboro. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to address any questions you might have, and look forward to your input to the city manager in the next few weeks.
Any questions?
I've just got a few observations and some comments I just offer. I appreciate it, Greg, for the presentation. You know, at $30,000 a year for 20 years, that's a huge investment into something that I think I just don't support and would like for us to strongly consider accelerating the termination of the lease, understanding what the cost to removal of the asset is going to cost us in order to do that. Eyes wide open. Next, an idea that I've shared with staff for a number of years is exploring the purchase of an easement directly opposite the exit 99 intersection where it tees into 250, and acquire an easement for that property to put a Rockfish Gateway branding large sign directing folks for fuel and breweries and shopping and everything to the left. We're not going to hit everybody off the national park or Blue Ridge Parkway, but we weren't anyway. So at this instance, you'd be able to at least get the eyeballs of tens of thousands of vehicles every day to have a reason to turn left. And I just think, I think the age of tourist information centers and brick and mortar facilities, yes, in rural parts of Virginia, rural parts of America, still a very prominent and proud investment. But for a city, I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze personally. And I would like for us I would like and defer to my colleagues for staff to actually explore what the cost of an easement would be to acquire right-of-way, to erect a sign in that fashion. Had we done that a decade ago, my thoughts is that it probably would have been bought and paid for already. So I have no interest in continuing the relationship at the top of the hill. Because I'd also offer too, just for folks that might be watching, is that it's nowhere up there has it ever said Waynesboro Tourist Information Center. It says Rockfish Gap Tourist Information Center. So even the very branding of it doesn't even say that the citizens of Waynesboro, who are the only ones paying for it and have been the only ones paying for it for over a decade, maybe a little longer, our city's not even acknowledged with it. And then you walk in and there's, again, I understand the VTC process and Virginia Tourism Commission and those opportunities of putting our brochures and other facilities across Virginia. But the proliferation of brochures from our competitors and their eyes and their attention was overwhelming in my last visit to the facility. So I would defer to my colleagues.
I would have to agree with Mr. Short. I think the study you talked about that we did, if I remember right, give us some directions on where we should relocate if we was to come off the mountain. Part of it was, if you're coming in on 250, you want to be a certain distance from the top of the mountain to where the center would be. You want to be on the right-hand side of the road because the people can go left. Also, especially with a larger vehicle or pulling a camper, it'd be less likely to do that and then try to get back out. Yeah, it would be before you came to another business, because if they came down off the mountain and there was a gas station, they'd stop in there and get gas. Then they'd probably say, well, where's a good place you can recommend? And they would look for a tourist information center. So I think we're very limited to a place that would fulfill the requirements that that study said, plus everything that Mr. Short had to it, as they terminated. That was what you said.
I'm also in agreement with my colleagues. I'd say I'm ready to terminate.
I was actually unaware, I didn't realize that that we were required to advertise all of our surrounding areas as well. It wasn't just for Waynesboro. Before, I was wanting to talk about relocating it in, but now that I know that we're directing people to other areas, that definitely has a different, has an impact on my decision. I'm with my colleagues.
And I think at the start, we might have, did we get some funding from other jurisdictions at the start of it, maybe?
We did. We got, it was operated jointly with Augusta County. Augusta County was a partner with Waynesboro to the east and with Stanton to the west. So each locality was participating in an overall local TIC/regional tourism effort. But they withdrew, yeah.
So we've been paying for a place on top of the mountain that basically sends people down to 151 and other areas.
Now, I think that's a misrepresentation or a misunderstanding of the system and how it works. Recognizing that each person can have their own impression and reaction. We have been part of an overall statewide system that you could go into any tourist information visitor center across the Commonwealth and find items about Waynesboro or items about Stanton. We have furnished the volunteers who obviously have been coached and trained to emphasize Waynesboro, but obviously we're giving honest and authentic information about the region depending on what the visitor asks. So I'd be careful about the system being benefit for the overall state and competitors. We were part of a system that functioned to enhance visitation across the Commonwealth. But well, if there's no support for the endeavor, then that's fine, and we understand how to take direction. But I'd want to be clear about the benefits of the program.
Yeah, I would just note your staff report that says surveys of CTIC's visitors indicate the majority of visitors do not visit Waynesboro. So I just to sort of acknowledge that.
Well, that's because in the current location, there are 6 ways in and out of the place. And when we did our survey, about 13% of the people actually came or went to within the city of Waynesboro. If the center's in Waynesboro, they're already there. They just have to go a little bit further to get to downtown and make a purchase or across the street to buy gas or whatever. And just a point of correction, it's $20,000, not $30,000 a year is the operation expense.
Well, the $34,000, according to the city manager's budget from last year, is $34,000.
Last year, the current
is $19,000 is $20,000, but the reason is because the payroll for the staff is being diverted to another
right,
category.
and we reallocated staff
so
staff positions to cover not having a dedicated staff person for that anymore.
Yeah, so just to be clear, I guess my sort of suggestion would be, one, to terminate the lease, and then second is to direct staff to explore the easement alternative in the sign construction. Okay.
I'd like to know more about the easement.
Yeah.
I'd definitely like more about that, but yeah, I'm in agreement.
So I don't hear any support for exploring. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 13 is to consider appointing an individual to the Regional Youth Commission for an unexpired 4-year term. Is there a motion to appoint a Mr. Michael Stosh to the Regional Youth Commission for an unexpired 4-year term ending August 31st, 2023? Wait. 4 year?
I'm sorry?
Got a little bit of,
Typo.
yep. What's the 4-year term ending for the Youth Commission?
It ends this year, so August.
Okay, so it does
August-
end, okay, so that was
August
correct.
30th,
Okay, all
2023.
right. Okay, there we go.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Short, and is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion passes 5-0. Item 14 is communication, correspondence, and calendar. Mr. Hamp.
I don't have anything this evening.
Okay, and that brings us to item 19, citizen comment period.
Ms. Andrea, I'm sorry, Mr. Mark Harmon.
Okay. And before you speak, please state your name and address for our records, if you could, and be courteous to others that are speaking, and those that are listening, be courteous to the speakers. We ask that you observe the clock. It is a 4-minute timer. You have 4 minutes to speak.
Hey, thank you, Mayor Williams, City Council, City of Waynesboro. I gave you guys my word, I think, a year and 4 months ago that I'd keep you up to date on the status of what's going to happen to the Colonel William Henry Harmon Monument. It's been sitting on Harmon property for about a year. It's been visited by dozens of people, oddly enough. It is currently going to be moved to the Lee Jackson Memorial Park, which is being built on the Fairfield exit. It's going to be a place for living history, and monuments are coming from here as far as Alabama, to my knowledge, at this point. It's got some kind of an educational center, appears to be where it's heading. Very thankful. I really want to thank the city and everybody at Parks and Recreation that helped with the move of the monument. That was challenging at some levels, but it went great. Anyway, the monument won't be dedicated till July, but the park kicks off May 27th. There will be some flag raising, living history. There's speakers. We're currently being endorsed by Ben Jones, too, from Cooter from Dukes of Hazzard. He's contributed significantly. Anyway, if you're not busy, the 27th of May, it'll be a big party down there, and sometime in July, I don't have a definite date, the Harmon Monument gets moved. Just wanted to keep you guys abreast because I said I would. And I want to thank everybody who helped so much. Mr. Hamp, Parks and Recreation was fantastic, and the council, it's good to see you guys again, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Andrea Jackson.
Andrea Jackson, Waynesboro, Virginia. I just wanted to still be present, still let the city council and staff know that even though the rental inspection was not passed, you know, that's just a setback, and that we still, as an organization as well as an individual, think that this is still very important, and that 40% of your constituents are important, and that they need to also be taken care of. I know one of the city councils said that the property owners needed relief, but in reality, renters do not get relief, period. And so there needs to be a change in how we go about listening and also validating different people's lived experiences. And I'm still here to be a part of that process. And that's all. I just wanted to say that, and also that we have spoken to all of y'all. Y'all do know, and that we will be doing more, you know, research, as you said. We'll be presenting you with more things. And we, you know, if we've asked you to come to things, you know, I expect as a constituent for y'all to come, because this is things that y'all said that y'all need. And I just would like to say that this has been a very frustrating process. It's been very depressing, because I felt that as a voting citizen, you know, being engaged and going through the process, you know, this was messy. And I don't like, if someone, me as a person, I'm very genuine and authentic, and if I say something, if I give my word, that's what I'm going to do. And if you can't do something, then just let people know. That's it. We are all trying to work to make a better Waynesboro, and from further on, I expect that everybody on the city council and also on the staff to come to, you know, these meetings and to these issues with the same level of, we're going to try to work toward a situation, not try to detour the situation. And when we do have these meetings, I'm not going to me, this is the compromise. The rental inspection is the compromise. There's a huge affordable housing issue in Waynesboro, and like putting your head in the sand is not helping. You know, saying that, oh, these buildings might be condemned, so let's not do this is not, you know, an option. If that is like the issue, then this is a bigger problem than y'all want to realize. So I'd like to really, you know, come together and over the next year really work to get this situation for this to be a priority, and especially to be in the budget, because actions speak louder than words.
Thank you. Okay. Item 16 is a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion? I thought so. And do I have a second?
I'd be happy to say.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.